There is a book, an ancient manuscript so old that it predates even the earliest scrolls of the official Bible. A book said to hold the deepest secrets about the origins of humanity, about the fallen angels, about the giants who once roamed the earth, and about truths that the most powerful forces in history have tried to bury in darkness. Have you ever wondered, why has part of human history been hidden? Why were certain books never allowed into the Bible? And why were the words of a man whom God took directly into heaven without experiencing death, erased from the world's memory? That book is called the Book of Enoch, a book that if you truly read it, if you truly understand it, will overturn everything you thought you knew about angels, about the fall, about the beginning and end of the world. A book once read and revered by the early fathers of faith, but later banned, burned and turned into legend for over 2,000 years. Imagine a manuscript detailing angels who once guarded the heavens but fell because of forbidden desires. A manuscript that tells of hybrid beings, half God, half human, who brought destruction upon the earth. And hidden deep within its pages are revelations about a final judgment so profound that even today's theologians only dare to whisper about it in the shadows. We have been robbed of a part of our own history, a piece of collective memory about the early days, about the dark nights when the stars fell and the earth trembled under the footsteps of giants. Not every truth has been allowed to shine. Not every secret has been allowed to be spoken aloud. But today we will reopen those ancient pages. We will step into the forbidden realm where history, mythology, and the human soul intertwine. And perhaps, just perhaps, you will never see the world the same way again. There was a time when people believed that the Book of Enoch was just a myth, a faint echo buried in the marginal notes of ancient scholars. Its copies vanished from human sight, as if the heavens themselves had sealed it away, locking it into oblivion. But then something extraordinary happened. In 1773, during a mysterious journey that spanned years across the deserts and mountains of Africa, the Scottish explorer James Bruce reached the sacred land of Ethiopia. It was no coincidence that he came there. From rumors he had heard that hidden among the ancient monasteries carved into sheer cliffs, there were ancient texts unknown to the Western world. And he found what no one expected, handwritten copies of the Book of Enoch, carefully preserved by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church for thousands of years. In a sacred temple covered in the dust of ages, Bruce held in his hands the yellowed pages written in Ge'ez, the ancient Semitic language, now nearly extinct. Upon those lines, the forgotten history of humanity awakened once more. A world where angels did not only sing, but rebelled. A world where giant beings ruled the fields and their blood stained the rivers red. But there was more. In the 20th century, among the stones of Qumran, an arid land by the shores of the Dead Sea, archaeologists discovered more scrolls. Among them were fragmented sections belonging to the Book of Giants, an extension of the tales found in the Book of Enoch. These texts, buried in caves like seeds of memory, told of ominous dreams had by the giants before the great flood swept them from the earth. Why have these texts, for over 2 millennia, only appeared in the most remote, forgotten places? Why did the great churches, the monarchies and the scholars of the Middle Ages turn a blind eye to their existence? Could it be that there are truths even the most powerful dared not face? We now stand at the threshold of sealed secrets. Secrets that once the door is opened will forever change how we view the origins and destiny of humanity. Amid the dry genealogies of the Book of Genesis, one name quietly shines like a solitary star in the night sky. Enoch. Not a mighty warrior, not a powerful king, not a thunderous prophet. Enoch is mentioned in only a few brief sentences, but those words carry a mystery nothing can obscure. The Bible states, Enoch walked faithfully with God. Then he was no more because God took him away. Genesis 5:24. No death, no graves, no trace left upon the earth. A man who stepped out of the visible world and into eternity, carrying with him untold secrets. In the ancient spiritual memory, Enoch was more than just a man. He was seen as the bridge between heaven and earth, between the visible and the invisible. Ancient Jewish tradition holds that Enoch, because of his supremely righteous life, was granted majestic visions by God. Visions concerning humanity's fate, the fall of the angels, and the final judgment. In lost ancient writings, Enoch is not merely a witness but a chosen messenger. He was guided by angels through the realms of heaven, shown things never before revealed to mankind, sacred realms, divine cosmic orders, and punishments for disobedience. Enoch became the symbol of a hidden truth, a truth so vast, so profound, that this world has never been ready to receive it. In late Hebrew traditions and the ancient Eastern churches, Enoch was seen as a precursor to the coming of later saviors. Yet within the mainstream flow of history, Enoch was pushed into obscurity. Writings about him were removed. His revelations were labeled heretical. And the image of the man whom God took without death became a stray memory, echoing only in the hidden corners of human recollection. So who truly was Enoch? A righteous man who was exalted, a forgotten, mysterious prophet, or the keeper of the oldest secrets of the universe? In the journey ahead, we will follow his footsteps into sacred lands where not everyone dares to tread. No one knows exactly when the Book of Enoch was first written. Amid the murky cracks of time, scholars can only guess that it was recorded from ancient oral traditions thousands of years before Christ. The words and visions of Enoch, the man God took away, did not die with him, but were carefully preserved by generations, copied and passed from land to land. Between the 3rd and 1st centuries BC, the Book of Enoch took shape among ancient Jewish communities. The text is divided into several sections: the Book of the Watchers, the Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, the Book of Dreams, and the Epistle of Enoch. Each section opens vast new vistas about fallen angels, mysterious heavenly realms, and the cosmic secrets God revealed to his beloved one. In the early centuries of the Christian era, the Book of Enoch was known and referenced by many early church fathers. Notable figures such as Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, and Clement of Alexandria showed a distinct respect for the book. Even the Epistle of Barnabas, one of the oldest Christian writings, cites it. Yet a turning point came when the early church councils, especially the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, gathered to determine which texts were officially inspired. The Book of Enoch was not chosen. Too many details within it were confusing, clashing with the theology being standardized. Stories of angels loving earthly women of Nephilim, giants of strange heavenly realms were too dangerous to be widely circulated, and so the Book of Enoch began to slip into darkness. From the 4th century onward, it almost completely disappeared from the Western world. Copies were lost, burned, or hidden away. For more than 1,000 years, only the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, remote and isolated, preserved it as a sacred heritage beyond the reach of controlling hands. As for the rest of the world, the Book of Enoch faded into a whisper, a faint legend murmured in the dark corners of libraries and monasteries. What Enoch had witnessed the fallen angels, the secrets of the skies, was nearly erased from humanity's collective memory. It was not until the modern centuries, as the world entered a new era of discovery, that these lost pages began to be unveiled, pulled from dusty caves, from ancient manuscripts hidden in sun-scorched deserts. A question still echoes. Why was a book once honored by the earliest generations destined to such a fate? The answer perhaps still lies hidden in the words that have slumbered for over 2 millennia. For centuries, the Book of Enoch seemed buried forever beneath the sands of forgetfulness. Scholars only knew of it through vague allusions in ancient texts, like distant echoes from an unreachable past. But then destiny orchestrated a strange journey to bring that book back to humanity once more. At the end of the 18th century, a Scottish explorer named James Bruce embarked on a perilous journey. With a deep thirst to uncover lost mysteries, he crossed the Sahara Desert, traversed treacherous mountain ranges, and ventured deep into Ethiopia's interior, a land almost completely cut off from the Western world. Ethiopia at that time was a place where many ancient traditions remained untouched by the currents of time. Hidden among stone monasteries beneath solemn domes were treasure troves of ancient manuscripts, priceless relics lost to other civilizations. On his journey, Bruce made contact with the monks of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, who had preserved a copy of the Book of Enoch in the ancient Ge'ez language. When James Bruce laid his hands upon those crumbling pages, history itself seemed to stand still in that moment. Before him was not merely an ancient document, but a testimony from a time when heaven and earth still mingled, when immortal spirits walked among humankind. Warnings, visions and secrets of the heavens all remained intact after thousands of years exiled in darkness. Bruce brought 3 copies of the Book of Enoch back to Europe. Yet, as if by a strange twist of destiny, these copies did not immediately draw attention. It took nearly half a century before the first English translation was published in 1821 by Richard Lawrence. And it was not until the 20th century, with the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls at Qumran, that other fragments of the Book of Enoch began to surface, affirming its actual existence beyond mere legend. This rediscovery not only ignited a new wave of research, but also stirred a series of profound questions. Why does the content of the Book of Enoch align so closely with so many ancient legends? Why do the stories of fallen angels, the Nephilim giants, and the sacred heavens appear across numerous cultures from Sumer to Egypt, from Judaism to Greece? Could it be that under the thick dust of time there remain truths humanity has never dared to face? Could it be that the secrets Enoch witnessed are the very truths we are still willfully forgetting? The Book of Enoch is unlike any other ancient text known to us. It unveils to the reader a world where angels are not just silent messengers, but tragic figures, imbued with freedom, longing, and downfall. It is a vast, strange world filled with apocalyptic revelations never before told. One of the central themes of the Book of Enoch is the story of the Watchers, the guardian angels. Initially, they were sent by God to observe humanity, to guide and protect mankind. But then the greatest forbidden act occurred. They fell in love with the beauty of human women. Driven by desire, the Watchers broke the divine law, married humans, and gave birth to a hybrid race giant, beings bearing the blood of both heaven and earth. The Nephilim. The Nephilim, as described in the Book of Enoch, were colossal, powerful beings, but also brutal and ravenous. Their hunger could not be satisfied. When resources ran dry, they began slaughtering animals and then turned against humans. The world plunged into chaos, drowning in violence and corruption, to the point that God decided to cleanse the earth through the Great Flood. Beyond the tales of the Watchers and the Nephilim, the Book of Enoch also records the magnificent journeys Enoch undertook. Guided by angels, he traversed the heavens, realms of sacred space beyond the reach of mortal sight. Enoch witnessed the grand spectacle of stars operating under God's command, the storehouses of souls awaiting Judgment Day, and the punishing angels who guarded the fallen spirits. The book describes in vivid detail the heavens from realms filled with divine light, where choirs of angels endlessly praise to dark abysses, where fallen souls are shackled and tormented. Above all, Enoch beheld the radiant throne of the Most High, a revelation that made his heart tremble and his soul ignite with absolute holiness. The themes of the Book of Enoch do not merely narrate stories. They touch the most primal fears of humanity, the fear of abandonment, the fear of downfall, and the yearning for salvation. Simultaneously, they kindle within the reader a flame of hope that even in the darkest ages there remain faithful souls, silent witnesses to eternal righteousness. It is no accident that the Book of Enoch has become one of the most controversial texts in theological history. What Enoch recounted the visions he saw painted a picture of the divine world vastly different from what the canonical Bible later chose to preserve. One of the greatest differences lies in how the Book of Enoch portrays angels and the fall. Instead of focusing on a single antagonist figure like Satan, as the Old and New Testaments do, the Book of Enoch speaks of hundreds of Watchers angels who were once loyal but fell because of love and desire. The Watchers in the book are not absolute symbols of evil, but complex beings torn between longing and disobedience, between sorrow and danger. The story of the Nephilim, half divine, half human beings, also deeply unsettles theologians. The idea of mixing the divine and human, of blending heaven and earth, challenges the sacred boundaries that the canonical Bible strives to uphold. In Orthodox teachings, there is no place for such hybrid creatures. Furthermore, the Book of Enoch provides intricate descriptions of the universe's structure and the heavens with layered sacred realms, distinct ranks of angels with specialized functions, angels guarding the stars, the seasons, and even human souls. This cosmic vision is far more complex and vivid than the neat, orderly universe of the official Bible. Even Enoch's role is strikingly different. In the canonical Bible, he is briefly mentioned as a righteous man whom God took away. But in the Book of Enoch, he becomes a grand prophet, a future judge, and even according to some traditions, is transformed into Metatron, a mighty angel standing beside God's throne. Because of these profound differences in theology, cosmology, and anthropology, the Book of Enoch could not be easily assimilated into the doctrinal system shaped after the Council of Nicaea. It was too dangerous, too free, too multidimensional to be controlled. Thus, the Book of Enoch was excluded, not because it lacked value, but because it opened doors that not everyone was ready to walk through. If what the Book of Enoch recorded were merely fantastical tales, why then do echoes of its stories appear everywhere in ancient civilizations, seemingly unrelated? Pause and reflect. In Sumerian mythology, the gods from the sky, the Anunnaki, descended to the earth, imparting knowledge of the stars, magic, and cosmic secrets to mankind. They did not merely guide, but deeply intervened in human bloodlines, creating hybrid beings of supernatural strength. A story eerily similar to the Watchers and Nephilim recounted in the Book of Enoch. Turning to ancient Egypt, we find myths about gods like Osiris and Isis, half-divine, half-human beings who intervened in human life, taught them to build civilization, and brought secrets of life and death. The Grand Pyramids, perfectly aligned with the stars, were they truly only human achievements or remnants of a knowledge bestowed by supernatural beings, as the Book of Enoch suggested? Even in Greek mythology, the stories of the gods of Olympus, loving mortals and birthing demigod heroes, Heracles, Perseus, Achilles, mirror the images of the Watchers and Nephilim. Once again, the theme of divine-human hybridity surfaces like a hidden collective memory embedded across all cultures. Why across distant lands with no known connection does the same grand story repeat under different forms? Could it be that hidden beneath layers of myth and legend lies a truth so ancient we have forgotten it? Could it be that the Book of Enoch is not merely a lost book, but a mirror reflecting a part of human history we no longer dare to face? Could all these myths, from Sumer to Egypt, from Greece to the caves of the Dead Sea, be whispering the same truth? A truth humanity has either chosen or been forced to forget. When Enoch entered the heavens, he did not witness only the blinding glory of divine light. He was also shown a quiet tragedy unfolding among the angelic ranks, the fall of those who once stood before God's throne. According to the Book of Enoch, the Watchers, the angels tasked with guarding and guiding humanity, failed in their mission. Upon seeing the beauty of human daughters, their hearts were stirred with intense emotions. The step from admiration to desire was very short, and desire, like a seed of rebellion, took root in their souls. It was not just a few, but hundreds of Watchers who swore a terrible oath atop Mount Hermon, pledging together to commit the forbidden act so none would bear the blame alone. Led by the angel Samyaza, they broke the boundary between heaven and earth, abandoning their sacred stations to unite with the daughters of men. The consequence of this chaos was the birth of the Nephilim, giant beings, half god, half human, imbued with immense strength and limitless pride. The Nephilim were not merely symbols of racial hybridity, but emblems of the upheaval of the divine order established by God for the universe. The Watchers, in choosing to satisfy their personal desires, dragged the world into a spiral of corruption. They taught humanity forbidden knowledge, magic, warfare, weaponry, and the arts of soul manipulation. Knowledge meant for heaven now became tools of violence, ambition, and depravity. Angels, beings created to reflect holiness, transform themselves into sources of chaos. And the world, under the dominion of greedy and violent giants, gradually warped away from the original image God had intended. The fall of the Watchers was not merely a betrayal of a covenant, it was a warning about the fragile nature of free will, that even the greatest beings can fall when their hearts stray from the light. But that tragedy was not the end. The appearance of the Nephilim was only the first step in a series of violent upheavals that would determine the fate of the entire world. The Nephilim beings, half human, half angel, were not merely the result of betrayal. They were living symbols of a world thrown into imbalance where sacred boundaries were broken and the cosmic order overturned. According to the Book of Enoch, the Nephilim were colossal entities towering beyond human stature, possessing immense strength and insatiable greed. Born from the union between the Watchers and the daughters of men, a union never meant to happen, their existence quickly became the source of unprecedented disasters on Earth. The Nephilim knew no limits. Their hunger could never be satisfied. They devoured everything they could, animals, crops, and when food ran out, they turned to hunting humankind itself. Everywhere the land was stained with blood. Cities crumbled and cries of lamentation echoed through valleys once filled with life. Not only did they ravage the material world, but the Nephilim also sowed spiritual corruption. Through the forbidden knowledge taught by the Watchers, they led humanity down dark paths: violence, sorcery, black magic, the crafting of weapons for mutual slaughter. Things that God had expressly forbidden were now recklessly unleashed, defiling a world once created in primal goodness. The consequences of the Nephilim's existence were not only blood and tears, they led to a profound spiritual loss. Humanity forgot their Creator, turned away from the light, and sank into the worship of power, enchantments, and false gods. The world grew dark, unable to distinguish righteousness from evil. Deep within the cries of the earth of innocent souls, oppressed rose up to the heavens, and God in sorrow determined that purification was inevitable. A great flood would come, sweeping away all that had been defiled and opening a new beginning for mankind. But before that could happen, the secrets of the Nephilim and the sins of the Watchers had to be recorded so that future generations would understand that every freedom comes with responsibility, and that what is born of disobedience will ultimately lead to destruction. When the cries of the earth rose unceasingly, when blood flowed thick in once clear rivers, and when the righteous had no refuge, God made an irreversible decision. A great flood would be sent not only to destroy the brutality of the Nephilim, but also to cleanse the very consequences of the Watchers' betrayal upon the world. In the Book of Enoch, the flood is not portrayed merely as a natural disaster. It is a divine judgment, a punishment carefully weighed by the Most High. The Watchers who had broken their oath atop Mount Hermon were forced to witness their violent offspring, the Nephilim, being wiped from the earth they once dominated.